Howdy folks, it's Matthew, your friendly neighborhood technician, making a video for you out of Boise, Idaho, looking at a 2007 Ford F150 XL with a 4.2 liter engine. Now if this truck looks familiar, that's because it is. It was here a few weeks ago. A company here in town just bought the truck from another company. I went through it with a fine-tooth comb to see if there are any issues and whatnot. We ended up doing some maintenance work to it. Changing out plugs, wires, belt, stuff like that, and getting it on the road, making sure it was good. Well, it's come back. It's come back because it developed kind of a hard start, rough idle issue, and it ended up being a hard diagnosis. But ultimately, what I found right off the bat when I ran computer diagnosis on it was that it had a bad cylinder head temperature sensor. Now that's not a coolant temperature sensor, it's a cylinder head temperature sensor. And let me see if I can find an example of it real quick. Alright, there you go. That's what that cylinder head temperature sensor looks like. So, and then on top of that, the last time I looked at it, it also flagged the fact that the coil, which is the original coil for the truck, has a little crack on it. So we went ahead and changed that out, cleared out the codes, got it running, but it's still not 100%. In the mornings when it's cold, or if you let it sit for a long time, I'm going to say about 30 minutes to an hour, it has a immediate prolong start. It's not a hard start, it's a prolong start. So the hard start, the rough idle, we remedied that. That's because there's another underlying issue with the fuel system. I found it through the emission systems, but there's no check engine light on. And it can get tricky on this truck, okay? So this vehicle has what's called a returnless fuel system. And it uses a electronic fuel injection pressure sensor, which sits on the back of the fuel rail. You're really not going to be able to see it. Behind the intake on the driver's side, it's plugged in there and it's back there and all that other good stuff. It also has a fuel pressure check valve that's part of the fuel pump inside of the tank. So with the prolonged start and all that other good stuff, how did I figure out to go ahead and start checking fuel pressure and stuff? Well, I noticed that it will only have an issue starting up when you first try to start it. If you start it and it has that prolonged start, get it running, then turn it off and start it again, well, it'll go ahead and start up. But if you let it sit for a little bit, the fuel pressure tends to bleed off. So we have a combination of a weak fuel pump, a fuel pump that's beginning to go out, and a fuel pressure sensor regulator that is not working correctly, allowing fuel to bleed back down into the system. So let's take a look at it. Before we do, I would like to let you know, in case you've been trying to find how to test the fuel pressure on this truck, you have to have a pretty detailed, pretty decent scan tool. The fuel pressure can only be electronically checked. Ford went ahead and removed the Schrader valve off of this, so you can't use a mechanical fuel pressure tester. Unfortunately, you probably need a computer that's in the $300 to $400 range as the cheapest that can go in and not just read just live data, but you also need to be able to read the original equipment manufacturer codes, the dealer codes, and all that other stuff. So let's go ahead and get this show on the road and let me show you what we got. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get in here. We're going to get our key in the ignition, turn it on, get our computer hooked up. We're going to establish communication here. Alright, now, although there are no powertrain diagnostic codes or free-frame data, we obviously have an issue, and you can also see that two of the IM monitors are not ready, the catalytic converter and the EVAP monitor. Now, again, that could be a fuel-related issue, so don't go right into looking at the O2 sensors or the cat converter. Let's see if we can pull up live data. Alright, there we go. We have live data. Now with the truck off, the fuel system is in an open loop. And what we want to do is we want to go through all of these menus. And we want to find the fuel system. Fuel level, Tells you how much fuel is in the tank. And there we go. There's fuel pressure. Now, that right there tells you there's an issue with the fuel pump. With the key on, engine off, for a 2007 Ford F150, you should be coming in at about 35 pounds of pressure, okay? Now, let's go ahead and start this truck. As a matter of fact, I'm going to turn the key off real quick. All right, I'm going to turn it back on. We're going to relink and see what type of fuel pressure we have. Key on, relink. Up, there it goes. That's the best fuel pressure we can get with the key on. That's way below specs, indication of a weak fuel pump. However, what's the other indication that I believe that the fuel pressure sensor is bad? The fact that the fuel pressure doesn't hold at all. It's obviously leaking back down and bleeding off, and it shouldn't be doing it that fast. Let's go ahead and start this truck and see what fuel pressure does then. So if you notice, fuel pressure continues to drop as the vehicle is actually running. Now let's see what happens when I give it the gas. No gas. Let's give it some gas. Gas. You notice the fuel pressure drops as you give it the gas. Now then, let's go ahead and turn the engine off and see how fast that fuel pressure drops. Relink. Okay. The fuel pressure should not be dropping that fast after you turn the vehicle off. It should actually hold 45 psi, 35 psi, somewhere in that area for quite a while. You know, 5, 10, 15 minutes or more, honestly. But the fact that this fuel pressure drops right off as soon as you turn this off, again, tells me that it's probably more than likely going to be the fuel pressure sensor regulator, as well as a weak fuel pump. And that's why when you give it the gas, you see fuel pressure that drops. Now, the only catch with this is the other issue. There could be another underlining issue, and it could be that the fuel injectors are actually leaking, and that's where the fuel is going. But the thing about it is if the fuel injectors are leaking into the cylinder, you're going to smell that really bad. At first, I kind of thought I smelt it, but in the end, I went ahead and made the decision, and no, I'm not smelling fuel going into that hot cylinder after you turn the vehicle off. So, again, I'm going to say that it's the fuel pressure sensor as well as the fuel pump that is beginning to go out on this. Let's go ahead and start it again and see what we're working with. See, it takes too long, you see? It takes too long to build back up. Give it the gas and it can't keep up. The fuel pump cannot keep up. It drops. Reestablish link. There it goes. It drops all the way back down again. So, fuel pumps are expensive, and so is the electronic fuel pressure regulator. I'm going to see if I can get back in here and just get you a peek at this thing. Let's see if we can get in here. And I'm not so sure. That's not it. There it is back in there, okay? Right there. And in order to get to that, you're going to have to take the upper intake off. So you'll have to get an intake gasket, a fuel pressure sensor regulator, and then you might as well go ahead and change out the fuel pump as well. Now, here's some information about this truck. This truck was bought from one company to another. I believe the truck has about 130,000 miles on it. Let's check that out real quick. All right, so yeah, you can see right there, this truck has 131,000 miles on it. The reason why I want to point that out to you is because when it comes to work trucks like this that you're buying from another company, in all actuality, if the company is smart that runs work trucks like this, they'll get out of the work truck at 120, 130, 140,000 miles, because a work truck like this is ran all the time, and they're normally ran pretty hard. And so you can really look at your maintenance logs and you can look and tell that, hey, my vehicles start going out on me at about 130, 140,000 miles. I need to get rid of it and go ahead and get into something with less miles that's going to be more dependable. Everything that we've been covering on this truck, from a bad ignition coil to sensor going out, to a fuel pump that is now going weak, to a fuel pressure regulator that's going out, that is all stuff that cannot be predicted ahead of time. You know, kind of like if it's not broke, don't fix it type of situation. Fuel pumps can go out at any minute. Fuel pressure regulator, especially if it's electronic, they can go out at any minute. So in all actuality, you know, there's only so much that someone like me can look into and guarantee that, oh hey, this isn't going to happen, that isn't going to happen. So there you go, folks. That's how we figured this out. Now remember, on the 2007 F150 4.2 liter on up to like 2010, they removed the Schrader valve to run a fuel pressure test and to check that system. You absolutely have to have a decent computer in order to do it. So that way you're not running, you know, driving yourself crazy trying to find the Schrader valve and all that other good stuff. So the final diagnosis on this one is the electronic fuel pressure sensor, also known as electronic fuel regulator, and a fuel pump. And after that, everything should be good on this truck until something else decides to break. Alrighty, folks. Well, I greatly appreciate you guys coming out and watching my videos and supporting me. If you have any questions about this truck, or if you have any questions about any type of projects or repairs that you're doing yourself, feel free to get a hold of me in the comments. We can trade emails, we can trade phone numbers. I really enjoy helping you guys out on your do-it-yourself projects and all that other good stuff. So once again, thanks for supporting me. This is Matthew, your friendly neighborhood technician, signing off.